Well, welcome bloggers, welcome wine lovers. We are live here at tastelive.com. I'm Nick Solga, sommelier here, and we have with us a special guest, two special guests, and a very wonderful wine. We're going to be taking a trip south to Chile, a little over 5,000 miles depending where you're from, and we're going to be tasting the terroir of Chile with the wines of Gran Reserva Seria Riberas, which, if you haven't heard that term before, essentially means riverbank series. These are all single vineyard wines, estate grown, that are grown in close proximity to one of Chile's major rivers. So I'd like to welcome Marcio Ramirez, winemaker, and Italo Joffre, wine ambassador from Concha y Toro, the parent winery. Thank you for being with us tonight. Gentlemen, we have a beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon in front of us here today, and I know that actually a little bit, right before we get into talking about it, we sent out to the bloggers a beautiful recipe pairing that came from Concha y Toro and the chefs there, and we actually had a local blogger chef, $20 wine blog, Jason Mancebo. He is $20 wine. He's tasting actually and cooking at the same time. We have a beautiful rabbit casserole. It's been adapted to be a little bit of an appetizer portion. So when you combine this with a little bit of this Cabernet, it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. A little bit of a little fryer rabbit and herbs de Provence. Wonderful pairing. Really comes alive. Matter of fact, I'm gonna refrain from that because we haven't talked, but we were tasting it a moment ago. My Vine Spot is saying, is a flagship variety in your opinion. Chile is known for Carmenere. It's known for Cabernet, and Cabernet has the muscle.
Yeah, it's important.
Oh, actually, Chile is known for Cabernet Sauvignon.
Absolutely.
Carmenere it's growing. It's the fastest growing grape in Chile, but Carmenere is 70% of the total production.
I think it's important for the bloggers, Marcio, if you could tell them, I think especially a lot of our bloggers being from California, being from the United States, they may have had wines from Napa, Sonoma, maybe even Washington, Red Mountain area, wonderfully known, all the way to France, where you studied and we've had some background. But what would you say is the difference between Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon and maybe some of the more domestic stuff or the French stuff that our bloggers might be used to?
I think the Chilean Cabernet is a character. This is a very homogeneous, or very constant all the year. It's a very structure, power. It's a long time age for guarda age
the wine. For a long time.
And you notice right off the bat, this wine is not messing around. We actually, Divine Wine Time noted here is actually retweeting Wine Harlots and Sonadora, whichever one of you had it right or had it first. God bless you, because yeehaw, they say, basically. Look at this. There's pretty much my notes there. Yum, sexy, awesome. Much better shot of the beautiful rabbit that we had there a moment ago. So we'll just set that to the side. But talk about an amazing pairing. You go ahead, and while I'm talking, you'll have that. I want to taste some of that yum, sexy, yeehaw here in a minute. But I think the Chilean Cabernet, actually Sonadora, before I get into that notes, the neighbors voted the Cab their favorite. I think it's important to note we sent out 8 bottles to every one of you bloggers. A backup wine in case something happened in shipment. We can't control what the UPS guy does, but what we can say is that you're sharing it with people. That's awesome. Their neighbors loved it. Cabernet favorite of the night. You can tell this wine has muscle. This wine is strong. How long would you maybe say this wine could age?
I think this is possible to 10 years age the bottle.
Up to 10 years.
The tanning, the soft tanning is a structure for the long time.
I'd like to ask the bloggers, when was the last time you took a $16 bottle of wine, or 15, whatever, 15, under $20 bottle of wine for the most part, especially from, a new world country, and aged it for a decade and had it unfold? That is, and you can tell right in the palate, it's amazing. Spirit and Wine notes that we have, actually it says, have any of them been rated by a magazine? I expect the Sauvignon Blanc, the Carmenere, and the Cab would be in that 89 to 93 point range. Gentlemen?
Yeah, they have been rated, some of them. It's a new wine coming to the United States, so not all of them have been rated.
I believe the Carmenere.
Carmenere was rated, Cabernet Sauvignon was rated 89 and 90 points. For a $14.99, $15.
I believe it was our good friend Robert Parker gave it a 90-point rating, and there were some other ones in there. So yeah, with the fact that it's actually a younger wine and only been in the U.S. for the past year, we can only expect amazing things as we start to unfold vintage to vintage and going forward. Or if perhaps you just hold this wine and age it for 10 years, we'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
So the Cabernet, though, to give an idea to the bloggers of where we're coming from, what region does this come from on the map?
It's the same area for the Malbec. It's the Palo Santo vineyards.
Okay.
It's south of the Rapel Valley.
Okay.
It's 37 miles to the sea. It's a 5 kilometer or 2 miles to the river.
Wonderful. Wine
Very
Harlots
close.
actually notes that the samples and the press kit were A+. So we'll make sure that we thank those that put together. I know there was a big team and a lot of effort that went behind that. Thank you very much for that. And Art Predator noticed, gotta say, thanks to the backup bottles. The ones we opened were perfect, and we look forward to sharing them with
Beautiful.
family and
Yeah.
friends. So that's, again, as we know, the best thing about wine is sharing it with people. Because if sitting there by yourself with a glass of wine just doesn't usually taste quite as good. You know what I mean? Dan Godwin notes that he would love to visit the region, especially. So this is Colchagua, correct? Or am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Colchagua.
yes, excellent.
How would you say what differentiates Colchagua from, say, Rapel or Cachapoal?
It's more close to the Cordillera de la Costa,
To the coastal range.
coastal range, but it's the soil is very poor. It's a lot of granite and quartz.
Yes.
Yeah, and the red clay. But it's the difference. In a Rapel Valley or Cochapoal is a very deep soil, fertile soil. This soil is a very poor.
okay.
The need for the Cabernet is a very strong.
So does that
variety.
make the vines fight a little more to
You stress the vine.
you stress vines?
yeah,
Are
yeah.
the yields lower then?
Yeah, it's a little
Smaller
slope.
cluster, smaller berries. So
Okay.
you
Very
get, as a
small
result, more
berries.
concentrated grapes.
This is for concentration.
Yeah.
This color and this flavor is for the grapes are a little, but it's a very
So they're very
concentrated.
small.
Yeah,
Very small.
yeah. The size is a very small.
So how many clusters would you get per vine, would you say?
It's a
¿Cuántos racimos por vine?
20, 25.
20?
Yeah.
And you know, from a younger vine, that's actually fairly low.
vines. For
For two vines.
yeah.
We actually have a question. My Vine Spot was asking us, wanted to know your thoughts, your philosophy on the idea of single vineyard wines. Do you feel that they essentially they speak in the voice of the land? What do single vineyard wines do that wines that are blends do not do?
The single vineyard is a show to the region. The people is very sophisticated. I need a new wine. What is identity? With the identidad. Que tenga una identidad.
That it has identity, like
But it's
personality.
Yes.
It's a personality.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
essentially, we're not everything to
It's
everyone.
no another Cabernet, but it's a Cabernet, but this area, but it's specific, but it's a very different.
Would you say that it's like it's almost like a time capsule, right? It's a capture of a moment, of a place, of a taste in time.
And the year.
So that is, I think, one of the most fun things about when we taste the wines. Actually, we have another comment. Drink what you like. Post info packet. Discuss global warming. Can you expand on the location of the vineyards and how this sort of mitigates the effects of climate change?
¿Yo lo contesto? Okay. The regions where we are growing these grapes are very close to the river, and as a result, they have lower temperatures. So in the surrounding area, you could have higher temperatures, but this wine will stay, these grapes will stay cooler. And as a result, also, since it's a cooler area, we don't need as much water as other regions
Oh, so
to
it's-
irrigate.
So it's more sustainable from a water
Exactly.
usage perspective as
Exactly.
well as
More efficient
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
the use.
That's unique, and that's part of a lot. That was as you said earlier, I believe, a large study that went on because of that.
Yeah, the Universidad de Chile, they did this study. There's a scientific background to do that, and they did that research, and they found out that these places would have lower temperature and less use of water, which we have seen in the last year.
You know, we actually have Spirit and Wine just wanted to share with us quickly. Thank you for that. But they wanted to thank everyone here, thank all of us for the opportunity essentially to taste these wines. And they really enjoyed them very much and look forward to tasting them again. I know that everyone has extra bottles. And so thank you very much for sharing that with us. You guys have really done a wonderful job bringing this to life for us. And we have a few. Do we have any more questions at all? Are we good? So we're wonderful. I would say that at this point, we've traveled up and down the country of Chile, and we've been able to taste not just a Sauvignon Blanc, but a beautiful Malbec onto a Carmenere and a Cabernet in our glass. I hope you didn't pour them out. But I would like to thank you all for joining us tonight and jumping from segment to segment. And we have a special thank you to Marcio and for Italo for joining us tonight. Thank you for flying all the way up
inviting
here
us.
Thank you for your time.
and presenting these wines. If we didn't answer a question for you guys, or if there's something you want to pose directly to Marcio or directly to Italo, please feel free to reach out to Gran Reserva on Twitter at Gran Reserva Wine, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Gran Reserva Wine. And for that moment, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for attending. And cheers, gentlemen. Salud. Thank you for taking a trip with us.
Enjoy.
Cheers. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Thank you very much.
We're still live. Let the bloggers know that you'll answer more questions for
Absolutely,
the next 15 minutes.
So for any of you bloggers that are sticking around with us and are lingering over perhaps the Cabernet or the Carm or even one of the other wines, we'll stick with you for the next 10 or 15 minutes to answer any questions that you didn't have a chance to pose or I didn't have a chance to answer. So go ahead and fire them at us and we'll taste some wines and we'll answer your questions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These gentlemen flew how many miles to be here? We don't want to lose sight of that.
It's a long flight.
How many hours does it take to fly to Chile?
To San Francisco
10
is
no,
10 hours to Dallas, and then Dallas here. It's like 15 hours
Yeah.
to get here
Yeah.
for this tasting.
So 10 hours to Dallas and 15 hours in total.
Yeah.
That's a far cry from aging a barrel for 15 months. So you can at least feel better about that.
All right, I'm going to take you off your
But it's a very good.
And we'll be
location.
answering the rest of your questions on chat. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Marcio. Thank you for being with us tonight. And thank you for those that are sticking with us. Shoot us questions and we'll answer you on chat. Cheers.
Salud.
Salud.
Salud.